Hi everyone, welcome back to Falcon's House. Today I'm starting a new mini tech series about building a router out of an old PC. Though you could use new hardware if you wanted to, it would just be more expensive. This project can be under $200, whereas a new PC is probably about $250 or more depending on what hardware you choose. The reason why I'm doing this is the performance of consumer level routers is just not very good, especially as internet speeds increase with gigabit, which I don't have yet, but I do want to get gigabit soon. It is available for a gigabit down and 35 megabits per second up in my area. And eventually we're going to have multi-gigabit internet. The DOCSIS 3.1 standard allows for up to 10 gigabits full duplex. And we're also going to have 5G options come out that are going to be gigabit or multi-gigabit. And if those come in and lower the price of the internet because of competition, we could definitely see a lot more options available. I think it'll end up being about $80 for gigabit internet once all the 5G options roll out and you have competition from AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon, along with your cable provider and maybe a DSL or local fiber provider. And if it's that cheap, instead of paying $130 for gigabit, you might pay $160 for two separate gigabit connections, and then you're going to want to connect them together. And there's just nothing that you can do with a home router that's designed for the consumer market that can handle anything like that with any sort of advanced features, even if, maybe not even with advanced features, it might just not work at all. So building your own router could provide a lot more power, especially for the money. While commercial routers from Ubiquiti or Mikrotik offer the ability to do this, they have their own strengths and weaknesses. Ubiquiti products are very popular among enthusiasts because they have good performance and a nice interface along with a lot of features. But they have one big drawback, being that they are not fast enough to do quality of service at full gigabit speeds. Depending on which router model you have, it could be anywhere from 80 megabits per second to 400 megabits per second, but nowhere near gigabit speeds. And with this feature turned off, the internet traffic can be offloaded to the network card instead of the CPU, and then it can route gigabit. But there are reasons why you want quality of service. The main reason to use quality of service is to prevent buffer bloat during gaming. I'm going to do a whole video on buffer bloat, but the short answer is that the increased latency created from running out of bandwidth can cause everything to run a little bit slower, more delays, worse gaming performance, worse video performance, things that are important to a lot of people now. The newer Amplified Gamers Edition from Ubiquiti is probably the only router that they have that can handle video with gigabit and quality of service on there. But I have not found enough reviews to prove that this is the case. I only found one review that said they were in gigabit, and they had full symmetric gigabit with quality of service turned on and didn't have buffer bloat. Well, they didn't even test for buffer bloat. They just said they didn't notice any sort of lag like they did with their old router. But I haven't seen anybody on with it that had asymmetrical internet that did the test for buffer bloat and have it come out clean with zero. So I'm not actually sure that it can or cannot. Plus it's a $380 router, which is a lot more expensive than doing this project. Mikrotik has two routers that are fast enough to do gigabit with quality of service, the RB4011 and the CCR1009. The 4011 has some quirks with only 4 of the 10 ports on it being full gigabit, because the data is split across 2.5 gigabit switch chips. So if you use more ports, it lowers the max speed of each port. So it could be useful, but you'd really have to know what you were doing. And the CCR 1009 can handle full speed to all ports, all 9 of its ports. It is a lot faster of a processor and can actually handle up to about 3 gigabits per second internet, which is a huge upgrade over the RV4011 and anything Ubiquiti offers. But it is a $400 router, and it does include a 10 gigabit network port as well, so you could actually use all that speed. But the user interface looks like it's something out of the 90s. It's not very easy. It's not something like you could recommend to pretty much any average consumer. You pretty much have to be tech savvy to even be able to use the router. The other option that exists in the high-end Netgear routers, and that run Duma OS, which is really new. I think they only have 3 models that actually support it right now. And while it cannot do full gigabit with quality of service, it has a feature where it can automatically enable quality of service while it detects gaming traffic on your network. So it'll turn on, lower your speed to about 70%, and then it'll give you the better latency that you want during gaming. And then when you're done gaming, it'll automatically turn it back off and go back to using full speed. And these routers are around $280, which is closer to the price that this project can be, but it's still less powerful. Those routers still are only dual core 1.8 gigahertz processors. So in this case, with my system setup that I'm doing, I'm using a Dell Optiplex 3010. You could also use a 7010, a 3020, a 7020, whatever kind of older 4th or 5th generation Intel hardware you want. You could use a newer AMD architectures, but not anything before Ryzen. And I do have to disclaim that I do work for Dell, but I didn't choose the Optiplex because of that. I just chose it because it was what was inexpensive and readily available online. So the other thing is that, so I have an i5 3470 with a quad-core 3.2 gigahertz, 4 gigabytes of RAM, and I'm adding a 2-port Intel NIC from 10G Tech and a cheap SSD from ADATA. Unfortunately, this project is getting delayed slightly because the NIC that I ordered got stolen out of my mailbox, and so I have to order another one before I can continue with this project. That should be strong enough to do full gigabit with all the features enabled, but there will be an update video if it's not and you need more hardware to actually do full gigabit. But I won't be able to test that right away since I'm only on 100 down and 10 up at this point. I plan on testing pfSense, Sophos XG, IPFire, and Untangle. Untangle is what I expect I will be using based on other reviews about how easy it is to configure and the performance and everything else. It should probably get me closest to gigabit with full ad blocking, virus scan, inline, all these other features, but I might be off to disable some of those features to actually get full gigabit. But we'll find out, and that's part of what this project is about, and part of it is creating easy-to-use guides for how to do all the configuration so that somebody else that would want to do this is able to. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos about this.